Wake the fuck up. Remus roars, pounding on the door. We're heading out in 10. Get your crap together and meet in the yard. Nora, Penelope and I are all startled straight out of our beds, rushing into action. My heart beats fast from the anticipation as much as the rude wake-up call. I was going to be gone for days in the wilderness. This is my last chance to make sure I have everything packed. I give Roscoe a huge squeeze but carefully, fearfully, regretfully put him back in bed. His safety was paramount. For the first time, he cannot join me where I will go. Tomorrow will be the first day I sleep without him in over a year. Yet I had work to do, so I couldn't linger long. I get dressed and get my spear, my armor, my supplies, making sure they're all in place. I pack in a utility knife, double-checking that it's secure. I pack extra clothes and a blanket. Useful essentials that don't weigh too much. I have to be swift and vigilant. Running downstairs, I chomp down as much food as I deem wise and meet up with the team. I show up right in the middle, third behind Nora and Orville. To my surprise, Bentley is actually slower than Penelope, and the team briefly ribs him about it before Remus snaps at us to follow. It's hard to believe this is happening so fast. Everything in my life has been happening fast, all of a sudden. I guess that's just how it goes. The jog to the edge of the city was pretty uneventful, as most people were still getting out of bed. I've never been this close to the walls without being in a sewage zone, so I had a chance to appreciate them for what was basically the first time. The structures that surrounded and protected Skyhope were absolutely massive, extending far beyond the tallest buildings. My team made it to the gate in short order, the guards there saluting at Remus as he went by. At first, the outside view wasn't too impressive, just the rock of the crater wall, which everyone had to trudge up before anything else. At the top, though, no matter where I went in the city, it was impossible to see past the stone protections. The world outside them was always derided as harsh and cruel, unfit for human life. A place only for desperate travelers, madmen, and yes, hunters. Now, for the first time in my entire life, I finally saw beyond. It's beautiful, I whisper. A path from the gate curves out and around the massive crater behind us, surrounded by craggy chunks of stone flung hundreds of years ago by the impact. Beyond that, the world gets greener and greener, eventually blossoming into a massive, untamed jungle that stretches farther away than I've ever been able to see before. I saw, for the first time, a horizon, a massive expanse that terminated at nothing less than the infinite yellow sky. I could see the edge from here, the indisputable proof that we, too, stood on one of the flying chunks of rock that dotted the world above. I, who lived in a city I so arrogantly called big, were just a tiny, unnoticeable speck on the world that truly was, which lay itself out before me. I'm not the only one in awe, either. Even Remus pauses to let everyone soak the sight in. It is beautiful, he agrees. But almost everything you see exists as a danger to us. This is it, boys and girls. No one knows what all is out there. None of your training prepared you for this. Stay sharp, learn fast, or die. Yes sir. My team chorused back, and we moved out. The sights didn't get old, even as the hours passed. I'm always surrounded by tiny bug souls, vermin souls, bird souls. Things like that were all over the city. Yet the variety and insane quantity of souls here was almost overwhelming, before even factoring in all the new and exciting soulless stuff. Long grass tickles at my legs as I push through it, directing the team where to go. Only an hour into our journey, I felt something large enough to make my heart skip a beat, a humming green soul with an acrid smell that made me want to stay far, far away. Directing the team around and away from it, we continue on. Yet the further we got from the city, the more such dangerous souls tickled my mind. By the time we got to the jungle, they were everywhere. All sorts of kinds. Eventually, I have no choice but to push my team somewhere dangerous on purpose. There simply wasn't anywhere else to go. I don't think we can avoid running into something that feels scary at this point, I tell everyone about 5 hours into the trip. If we want to make any more progress, we're gonna have to fight something. What kind of something are we talking about? Nora asks. I'm not sure how to answer that. I've been mostly keeping mum on how people feel to my soul sense, not wanting to inadvertently give out hints that it's animancy-based. The two safest paths I can suss out go right next to a pack of just under a dozen smallish, pulsing red souls, or get dangerously close to a single sweet-tasting sharp soul that's much, much larger. I have absolutely no idea which would be safer, or what any of them even are before I get near them. I take a deep breath. They're my team. I need their advice on what to do. Besides, it wasn't a huge jump from what they knew I was capable of. Well, the two safest paths I can feel go by a big guy who feels sharp and a bunch of little dudes that feel pulsy, I say. Pulsy? Orville asks. Yeah, you know, like, they pulse. But maybe not literally? My power is not an exact science. We go for the little ones, obviously, Penelope says. Get me a vantage point and we won't even have to fight them. I look between the rest of the team, who all nod. Remus doesn't react at all, he's probably trying to stay impartial. Yeah, that sounds ideal, Nora agrees. You're not going to run out of juice for the big job, are you? Please, Penelope answers, rolling her eyes. I have this and then some. I must admit, I look forward to showing you what I can actually do. Okay, well, we're going to go that way, then, I answer, pointing. A tense 20 minutes later and I halt the team again, carefully climbing up a tree to see if I can spot whatever was setting my senses off. Sure enough, in a clearing ahead, these incredibly bloated pig-like creatures waddle around on four stubby legs. Each was about the size of a morbidly obese housecat, with a long snout and no apparent eyes. They moved slowly, hoovering up plant matter around them. They seemed totally harmless. If not for how odd their souls felt, I wouldn't assume they were threatening at all. We're not going to take chances this early, though. From my branch I hold a hand down and Nora passes Penelope up to me. Penelope nods when I point out the weird little fat things, holding out a hand in their direction. Her eyes focus, and I feel the tiniest stirring in her soul. For the next minute, nothing seems to happen. I watch with bated breath, giving Penelope whatever time she seems to need. Then, suddenly, one of the little creatures falls over. Then another, and another, over and over until all 11 of them are motionless. Then they die, something my senses can barely feel breaking within them. The souls float up ever so slightly, resting just above the corpse they were once part of. Even as relatively small as they are, they're far, far larger than rat souls. It's quite a bounty. I feel out with my senses, making sure even the ones out of sight were dead. They were. Dead souls shone far more easily to me, beautiful bright spots to my mind. I wanted them. How could I get close enough to collect the souls without being suspicious, though? I have an idea. Okay, they're dead, I announce. Should we recover any materials from these things? Remus hopped up the tree, staring down at the bodies. Not what we're here for, but good instinct, Vita. Follow me, this will be a lesson. He jumps down and heads towards the bodies, letting me scramble after and help Penelope do the same. Score. They were valuable, which was great in and of itself, but now I have an excuse to get close and nab souls. Wait, calm down. Don't get too excited, me. I still have to be nonchalant about it. How did you do that, Penelope? I ask, trying to seem as interested as possible while I mentally drooled over my treats. I crafted an airborne infection that targeted their nervous centers, she answers frankly. Wait, what? Orville asks. That sounds really bad. We're not gonna die, are we? Don't worry. Bentley answered happily. I'm sure Penelope wouldn't do anything to put us in danger. Indeed, she answered. You should all be fine. And on the off chance that you do get infected, I'll heal you. Wow, reassuring, Nora commented. Quit bantering and get over here, Remus demanded. One of you grab the bodies and gather them here. On it, sir. I happily volunteer. Score. Be careful with them. I head to the nearest one, yoinking the soul and storing it in my arm. I don't eat it quite yet, moving on to pick up the dead body. Bright red markings streak the back and sides of the little ball of fat, and the thing smelled absolutely wretched, like farts mixed with rotten eggs. Carefully and gently, I grabbed each body, stored the soul, and brought them to Remus. You are all damn lucky that you have an offensive biomancer on your team, Remus says flatly, causing Penelope to preen like a peacock. These are blast hogs. They're aggressive, they can spit acid, and if you puncture them in the wrong place or punt them too hard, they blow up. There's a beat of silence from the team. As in, Inflate, sir? Orville asks slowly. No. As in explode. Remus pulls out a knife and stabs into the side of the blast hog, causing each of us to wince in anticipation of the promised detonation. It doesn't come. Remus instead carefully cutting the creature open and extracting a bladder-like organ, his gloves slicked with blood. This bit right here is the nasty shit. We can sell these for a lot in the walls. It's full of some valuable chemical or another, I don't know how it works. I'll show you lot how to cut one open again, and then you'll each get to try it. Don't fuck up. I then spent a harrowing half an hour carefully carving up a corpse that could and would kill me if I made the wrong mistake. The team collected the bomb bladders and promptly set out. Not bad, Remus said to everyone. You should be able to collect materials much faster than this, but at least you're all still alive. Thank you for the lesson, sir, I say honestly. 11 souls. Each one nearly as large as a human child's. Would these bladders be useful as a weapon in an emergency, or are they better to just sell? They're better to sell, he answered simply. If you've got a strong arm you might be able to throw them at something hard enough to burst, but a skilled craftsman can make you much more reliable bombs from the stuff inside one of these. How much does a bomb cost? I ask. How much are these worth? I almost trip when he gives me the number. That's enough to feed the kids for a week. I let Remus hold them all, not wanting to accidentally set the volatile wads of cash off in a fight. The rest of the day goes similarly. Engagements with the wildlife happen on our terms, and when they happen it usually involves Penelope slaughtering them before they even understand they're in danger. The girl is genuinely terrifying, always getting this satisfied look on her face after she kills hordes of little monsters. I can't help but wonder if I look like that, sometimes. More importantly, I've managed to gather quite a few more souls, disguising my avarice for blasphemous power as mere avarice for cold, hard cash. Remus seems pleased with my entrepreneurial spirit, and is more than happy to teach my team how to collect the most valuable parts of whatever we come across and kill. I don't grab every dead soul, however. I don't want to look suspicious, and sometimes Remus declares a given animal as worthless. It's so tempting to go after them, as delicious and bright as they feel to me. Yet passing some up at least gives me some important information. If I leave a soul alone for too long, it starts to sink. Or perhaps, I suspect, it is grabbed by something I cannot sense, pulled down through the island to whatever lies below. I shudder, willing myself to not relive the memory of that incomprehensible being's touch. We should make camp soon, Nora announces. Giant's thumb is going to pass over in a couple hours, and Vita needs to rest for the night shift. I nod in agreement. Thank goodness. What I and likely everyone else will never admit is that we're all completely exhausted. Simply moving forward in the dense jungle is slow, stressful, and difficult. I'm sore all over, and I'm even more mentally exhausted than I am physically. The rest of the team never gets to feel all the horrifying crap I'm constantly leading them away from. Camp doesn't take long to set up, at least, and I'm firmly commanded to sleep as soon as I get a basic setup for doing so. Even though it's still light out, I have absolutely no trouble passing out at the earliest opportunity, even lacking Roscoe's comforting presence. It feels like I just fell over when Bentley shakes me back awake. I try to open my eyes a few times before realizing it's just really damn dark outside. No city lights, I suppose. Just a huge chunk of rock blotting out the sky overhead. Already? I murmur. Sorry, Vita. Bentley murmurs back. I can't see a thing. Everyone else is asleep. I nod, stretching as quietly as I can and pulling myself out from under my blanket. A crazy amount of souls were nearby, but thankfully not many of them were moving around. It was bedtime for everything, I suppose. Well, except for me. I feel outward with my senses. Souls are largely static things, not prone to changing much in response to their body's current condition. Yet some tiny part of them is affected, and I've been trying for a while to refine my soul sense to detect that part. It's going slower than I would like, but consciousness was a relatively easy thing to detect, at least by those standards. This was important, because I wanted to make absolutely certain that Remus was asleep before I eat any of the souls I've hidden inside my body. I focus for a long time. As best I can tell, the old man is indeed passed out. Finally. I've been looking forward to eating these things all day. I pull one out and slide it down my throat, feeling it unravel and add itself to my power. Fuck, that felt good. Already, a little bit of exhaustion from the long day and my far too brief sleep fades away. I wish I could devour my whole stock. I have nearly 24 souls left. Monster hunting is amazing, but one thought stays my appetite: if Lynn can feel me get stronger, surely Remus can too. If something strong suddenly appears beside him, wouldn't Remus wake up? If he finds out it's me, wouldn't he question it? So I limit myself, for now. I'm just guessing, but better to be overcautious than overconfident. If things get bad, I can devour my spare souls in a pinch. It doesn't seem like whatever pulls them down below the island is interested in taking them out of my body. Which I am certainly thankful for. A bit stronger, a bit more awake, I keep watch throughout the night, dropping another sinful snack down my throat when I get close to nodding off. About 6¼ hours later, light from above peaks past Giant's Thumb and daytime rapidly returns. I've only chomped on 4 of the blast pig souls, but I'm still feeling pretty fresh after the all-nighter. I'm starting to close the power gap between myself and my allies, or widening it, in Orville's case. It feels good, I feel lighter. I make sure to pay careful attention to Remus as he gets up, but if he notices anything off about me it doesn't show. I'm excited, but I try not to forget Rowan's warning that skill is more important than raw power. But maybe with enough raw power. Everything good overnight, Vita? Nora asks. Didn't get too bored? I'm surprised you never tagged out. No, didn't get bored, I answer. Plenty to think about. She chuckles. Alright, well, we got it from here if you want to rest a bit. I shake my head, standing up. I felt fine, and there was still a long walk before the team reached the last place the burrowhounds were reported. Things hadn't gone as bad as I've been led to believe. I've had plenty of worse days in the slums. I hope it will stay that way for the rest of the trip. Somehow, of course, I knew it wouldn't. It's not working, Penelope whispered to me. What's not working? I answer quietly back. My magic, obviously, she hissed. They're fighting off the disease faster than I can add it to their system. I could try to brute force an organ failure, but from this distance. I scowl, staring down at the betentacled creatures below me. They seem deceptively simple, too short of a dozen tendrils, each about 2 to 3 feet long, radiate out of a small, spherical core about the size of 2 fists. The creatures hang around in a pack of 16, rotating slowly as they glide smoothly along the ground, picking up bugs with their steps and shoving them into a small mouth in the core. They were fascinating, almost entrancing creatures to watch in their simplicity and efficiency. They were kind of cute. I'd never seen anything quite like them before. Unfortunately, my soul sense indicated that they were all dangerous, and Remus insisted that all creatures outside the walls should be assumed hostile. My team's strategy of guiding Penelope to a vantage point and letting her concoct a lethal disease for anything that stood in our way had finally hit a roadblock, but it was a roadblock at something I really didn't want to fight. The second day of our journey had been full of these kinds of hard situations, and people were starting to feel the pressure. It would also be likely to tire you out, and we've been relying on you for the whole journey, I murmur. We might need to kill them the old-fashioned way, or take another route. I'm not any more likely to be of help if we run into those massive creatures you warned us about, Penelope answers back. Total body mass is a significant factor in what I can and cannot efficiently kill with an infection. These things are just oddly resistant. I scowled deeper, not sure what to do. The creatures had twisting souls that undulated and snapped at rapid speeds. I'm guessing they'll be fast, mobile, and intelligent enemies. Against 16 of them, I'm afraid it won't be a fight the team can win. Was any other way forward better? Searching my senses and memory, I'm not sure there was anything. Navigating a safe path through the forest was like navigating a clean path through the sewers. It's not about if we smell bad, it's just what we end up stinking like the most. The big problem is that the large-souled creatures seem to have territories. If we started to move too close, sometimes even if I'm barely sensing them at the edge of my range, they would start moving towards us. The whole forest was terrifyingly aggressive. Traveling had been a product of poking at the edges of those territories to determine where the hell they were, then trial and erroring a path between them before any of the big uns actually reached us. I have absolutely no idea how a team would survive without someone whose senses were at least as good as mine. We've already had too many close calls. We'd have to go through one of those territories if we wanted to avoid these tentacle things. Remus called them little disciples. We'd probably take them easily if he stepped in, but then we would fail the test. Kind of defeats the point. I tilt my head towards the rest of the team, and Penelope nods. The two of us head down to meet up with them. Nora raises a questioning eyebrow and gives a thumbs up, as if to ask, are we good? I shake my head, giving a thumbs down. Disease resistant, I report quietly. The team swears. I have an idea that's either clever or moronic. Remus, how viable would it be to try and lure two groups of monsters together and let them fight it out? I ask. The old man takes no time to consider it. Not viable. At all. The thing about a strategy like that is that it might work, and if it does? Great. But it won't work every time, and when it doesn't work you now have twice as many angry monsters on your ass. You need to go into every plan assuming that the plan will fail, because someday it will. Such as right now. I nod, having figured as much. Penelope had been downright tickled to be the one doing most of the killing so far, but now we were pretty deep in the forest and the rest of the team didn't have much experience actually fighting monsters. Our backup plans were not very good. Well, these guys look fast and smart, I murmur to the team. And there's 16 of them. But if we try to head around, we're gonna attract the attention of whatever big-ass thing was making those thumping noises. The team shuddered. We're stuck between 16 rocks and a hard place that was probably spiky and shot acid. I vote we get the little guys, Orville says eventually. We at least have the element of surprise and we know what we're up against. Taking the gamble against some huge thing Vita sensed that we know nothing about is a bad play. There's way too many for me to block, though, Nora rumbles from within her armor. They're gonna get past. Orville nods. I say Penelope stays back with me, up high on a vantage point. She buffs me up as much as she can. I fill them with arrows while you three protect the tree. Can you make those shots? They move super weird and their actual bodies are only about this big. I put my hands together to show him. He frowns, but nods. With Penelope steadying my aim? Probably. There's still going to be plenty for the rest of you to kill, though. Bentley nods. I think it's a good idea. He says in about as quiet a tone as the huge boy can muster. We can protect a single tree trunk, right? Will you be okay down here with us tall folk, Vita? Nora asks, grinning. Guess I'll have to be, I answer humorlessly, grabbing at my spear. Damn, would I be able to do this? If worst came to worst, should I pull their souls out? Should I turn them against each other, make them into zombies? Would I survive the aftermath of that if I tried it? Probably not. I'll keep that as plan Z. I suppose I'm back to support, Penelope sighed. I know I'm still needed for our main objective, but I think it's best if I exert myself a bit here regardless. Her fingers were already tracing those invisible patterns only learned mages could see, taking her time with the complicated weaving rather than the quick spells she used in the middle of battle. She touched me and I felt magic take hold, though I'm not sure what her spell actually did. She repeated the process for the others, trying to hide the sweat rolling down her face as she did so. Then she and Orville made their way up a tree while me and the others put our backs to it, Nora in front with myself and Bentley flanking her. Half a minute passed, then Orville let loose a shot. One of the 16 souls died immediately. Another shot came, then another, claiming one more life. The little disciples screeched in fury, blasting towards our team even faster than I had suspected. I gripped my spear tight, battle stance ready as they burst through the underbrush, yet another dead to Orville's shots as they skittered towards us at terrifying speeds. 13 were still left when the first one made contact, Nora stepping forward to slam it with her shield. Penelope murmured something above us and the spell in my body activated, sharpening my focus to a razor's edge. I stabbed down, taking the stunned monster's life as Bentley's wild swings ripped half the tentacles off of 2 others, crippling them. Yet there's still 10 more, and the remaining beasts all hit at once. Their horrible screeches ring in my ears as one leaps at me, a circular mouth full of rows upon rows of serrated teeth opening from its core. There's an intense calm about me as magic guides my limbs and accelerates my thoughts. I stab forward, clean through the mouth, ready to move on to the next one. But it doesn't die. The little horror clamps down on my spear, blood spewing from its mouth. It actually bites down, ripping the tip right off. Shit. In an instant, everything is chaos. 3 little disciples crawl over Nora, blinding her and trying to peel her helmet off her head. 2 more harass Bentley, screeching and hissing as they dance outside the range of his axe, distracting him. The one with my spear tip embedded in him struggles to move, but 2 more shoot past and start climbing the tree. I swing what remains of my spear like a club, aiming to knock them off as tentacles suddenly wrap around my leg, lamprey-like mouth chomping open my calf. I turn to try and beat the newcomer off just in time to see the last disciple jumping right at my face. Pain surges through me, and while it's no worse than what I've had before, it was going to be if I didn't do something. The thing on my leg reels, opening its jaws in preparation for a deeper bite. I wouldn't even be able to stand soon, and if that happens I'm dead. Screw that. This arrogant fucking animal was touching me. I rip its soul out through its tentacles, pulling its life into the very leg it was trying to dine on. It took more effort than I expected, but it was still fast enough. Still, it was best not to get caught. I yanked the utility knife out from my belt, dropping my broken spear. The other leaping monster collides with my head, but I devour the life from its body the moment it touches me, before it can even try to bite. With 2 quick jabs of my knife, it's easy to stab the already dead disciples. Hopefully, no one would catch them being dead beforehand. Orville. Incoming. I shout, turning my attention to the disciples on Nora. They had actually succeeded in undoing the straps on her helmet, which she was trying desperately to hold onto. I grab one of the disciples with my free hand, kill it, and stab its body. The other 2 immediately turn on me, screeching in fury but meeting similar fates. A blast of wind from above almost knocks me face first into the ground, sending the 2 disciples on the tree careening to the forest floor. They screech furiously, but seem to notice they're now outnumbered, as they immediately turn and skitter away at speed. The ones Bentley had been fighting do the same. Damn, everything was so much easier with necromancy. 5 pretty decent souls, just like that. My bleeding leg finally gives out as I feel the living disciples flee as far away as they can. They got me right on the inside of the knee. Whoa. That's a lot of blood. Hold her still. Penelope snaps, climbing down the tree and rapidly casting something. She drops next to me as Nora grabs my torso. Penelope runs her fingers across the back of my leg, her eyes going wide as her fingers return slick with blood. Shit, she swears. Anticoagulant. Nora, pressure here. I need to. I tuned out after that, as the energy from Penelope's prior spell quickly dissipated and left me suddenly feeling very, very lightheaded. Things happen in a bit of a blur after that, and the next thing I know Penelope was slapping my cheek lightly and trying to get me to eat something. I didn't understand. No one ever gave me food except Lynn. Was Lynn here? No, that wasn't Lynn. Where was that beautiful soul that glows like the sky? Well, no way I'm going to turn down a free meal. I happily munch a little, drinking the proffered water afterwards. What was I doing, again? I must drift off to sleep after a while, because the next thing I know I'm lying on the ground, wrapped in a blanket. I sit up slowly, looking and feeling around as the memories of the fight play through my head. My team was here, all awake and standing guard. They all seemed fine. I must have been the only one to get hurt. Go figure. Judging by the islands overhead, a few hours had passed. Oh hey, we're alive, I announce. That's good. Immediately, Bentley rushes over and grabs me from behind, picking me up into a huge hug. I squawk in surprise and Penelope screeches at him to put me down, but the dude is so busy crying joyfully into the back of my gambesine that he doesn't listen. Vita. Oh geez, Vita. We were so worried. I'm fine. Bentley, I'm okay, put me down. You're going to attract monsters or something. Vita, stop kicking. Penelope snaps. I haven't fully treated your wound yet. Vita, Penelope said you were poisoned and you weren't saying anything and I was so worried and... That went on for a while. Eventually, the pandemonium from my awakening dies down and I got a recap of what happened. The little bastards were poisonous, and I, shamefully, was the only one that ended up getting bitten. Just as I thought. Hey, don't look so down, Vita, Nora said, slapping me painfully on the back. You saved my ass. You killed 6 of them and I couldn't even get one. For real, Orville agreed. You're even better with a knife than you are a spear. I'm really not, I protest immediately. Penelope's focus spell was doing all the work. and I still almost died. I glance over at Remus, who's giving me this look. Shit, what did he know? Did he see me? Shut up and keep eating, Penelope orders, pulling me from my fears. Food could always do that. There was some necrotic muscle damage, and I need you to have enough food in your body to put it all back together. Be careful next time. Sorry. I will, I say, gratefully collecting myself another sandwich. It's no good for morale if the team mascot stays injured, after all. I glance at Remus, who actually smirks a little at my callback joke. Huh? Well, maybe he won't murder me for blasphemy, then. Cheeky brat, he comments. You can't be that injured if you're well enough to say stupid shit. The rest of the team seems confused by the comment, except for Nora, who puts me in a light headlock and laughs. Team mascot. Holy shit. I guess you're tiny enough for the job. It's funny because my height is a product of extreme past suffering, I respond blandly, taking a bite out of the sandwich. Nora takes it as a joke, which it kind of was, shaking me a little more. Everyone get off her. Penelope eventually orders. Do not touch her until I say she is healed. Laughing at the fuming biomancer, the team backs off and lets me eat. I successfully down another sandwich before Penelope demands to look at my leg again, which I gladly show her. Thank you, Pen, I tell her. You saved my bacon. That was not a bacon sandwich. And don't call me that. No, it's an expression. I'm just expressing gratitude because you saved my life. I really prefer being alive, so I appreciate it. She snorts. As if I had the option of anything less. The whole mission ends if you die. We're completely reliant on you to chart us a path. And also in combat, apparently. That's not the kind of thing I'm confident I can repeat, I protest again. Hell, I could stab half the stuff in this forest right in the head and they'd just shrug it off. Penelope stared at me for a bit, her piercing gaze judging me silently. Well, as long as you're functional for your main purpose, you should be good to walk now. Do you need further rest, or shall we get going? I move my leg experimentally, wincing a little. I really didn't want to slow the team down any more than before, but walking probably wasn't the best idea. Should I just walk on it anyway? No. Pride was stupid. I may as well rest. If only I could rest while moving. I glance over at Nora. She stares back, raising an eyebrow. I hold both arms out towards her, making grabby hands. What? She asks. I wiggle my arms a little, flexing my fingers faster. A small, whimpering noise escapes my lips. Behold, Nora, the ultimate technique of the tiny beggar. The cute and innocent face. Oh my god, do you want to be carried? She asks, slowly starting to grin. Come on, Vita. Use your words, honey. I whine again and shake my arms more, causing her to laugh and stand up. Gathering her things, she lifts me all the way onto her shoulders. Holy crap, she was tall. There, you dork. Now which way are we going? I giggle and point, orienting my mental map immediately. Hopefully, we could still get most of the way to the objective before nighttime. I didn't want to be away from home any longer than I had to.